available to Sarah, along with the slides. And great. So yeah, my name's Richard. I'm a speech therapist. I'm based in London, in the UK. It's lovely to meet you all. And I work with the MND Association, a non-profit here for people living with MND ALS, and I work with Google on various bits and pieces. And I'm really interested. I do a lot of voice banking for people, and we may, if we're lucky, help, I don't know, somewhere near 1,000 people to bank their voice this year, using all the different ones that are available. Usually it's a cappella or one called Speak Unique, which I believe has come to Australia, certainly in Queensland. But so now we have heavily discounted rates for voice banking, but it's still the best part of £100 English per voice bank. So this is big money, and that is with a hefty discount. So when I heard about Apple disrupting the market to say we're going to give you free voice banking, I went and bought this. I bought one. I went into the shop. I said, I hear you're doing free voice banking. I'd like an iPad Pro, please. And they sold me one. And for this voice banking stuff is going to be available in iOS 17, which is coming in the fall, which I take to mean autumn and October time. So, but if you have an iPad Pro, then you can get it early as a beta tester and then try it out, which is exactly what I did. So I'm going to share my slides. Stop me if you've got any questions, and let's have a good chat. So here you go. So I do a lot of stuff about technology and stuff for speech language therapists and people living with MND and other conditions. And I post a lot of my stuff on Speed of Trust 27 Twitter account. So sorry, it isn't called Twitter now, is it? On X. So just if you want to follow me there, that'd be great. So this is Apple Live Speech. Apple Live Speech is like their equivalent of voice banking. And this is my initial review. So I've created more than one voice bank from my own voice. And this is my take on it. I have banked my voice with every other voice banking provider I can find. So Model Talker, Acapella, Speak Unique, Voice Keeper, and others that I've forgotten because I'm too old. So this is the summary. So Live Speech is a free way to voice bank. It's going to be in accessibility. So it'll just be in there. You don't need to download anything. It's in the accessibility settings. From what I've tested, and I'm going to play you my own synthetic voice, I think it's as good as any of the others that I've heard of. You need to record 150 phrases. Apple said it could be done in 15 minutes. Well, I don't know. No, I don't think it can be. It took me, and I'm kind of a pretty healthy person, it took me half an hour. And as you know, people with ALS, MND or other conditions, it's going to take them much longer. But everything gets saved as you go, so you can come back to it. Then you have to, once you've done it, you have to plug your iPad or your iPhone into a charging socket and lock it, leave it on, and within a couple of days or quicker, the voice bank file gets downloaded to your device. So the last time I did this was a few days ago, and it literally took about 8 hours for that voice bank to be downloaded, and you can follow the progress. It can be used. It will be able to be used in your kind of more popular AOC apps on iOS, including Predictable and Grid for iPad. So if your clients use that, then they'll be able to use that there. And interestingly, you can actually do text-to-speech directly from the iPad in FaceTime, Meet, and Zoom. And I've tested that. And that means for people oh no, oh yeah. So if people have would prefer to use text to speech directly in a online call, then they can do it in Meet, Zoom, and FaceTime. I just tried it on Teams, and I wasn't able to do it. Not well. It sounded very distorted, so that's why I can't show you that for this particular call. However, it only works in Apple. This has implications because if you have clients that use other systems like Grid 3 on Windows or Tobii Dynavox Communicator 5 on Windows, then they cannot use this. So the only option is that Apple allow you to export the original recordings that you did to make the Apple Voice Bank, and then you can load them in to another voice banking provider, which is a bit rubbish, but that's how it is. It only works on the Apple ecosystem. I had real problems with recording because there's a kind of automatic advancing in recording, and you can switch those off, but even I had cut off recordings because I paused for too long. There are no sound checks beyond the initial testing right at the beginning, except for silent recordings, and if you stay silent it will stop, but it doesn't tell you why. And this is an American, clearly an American development team built this, and it's all very US centric, and some of the phrases are very complex and odd for us international folks, and I find that a bit sad, really. But and you cannot skip a phrase. So for your clients who have literacy, literacy needs, then this is some of these phrases are going to be difficult, and that it's very unfortunate because that's very avoidable. That's just, and of course, people living with MND, the MND community, of course, cuts across everything and everyone, all parts of our society, all levels of literacy. It just cuts straight across. So this all matters. All right, so that is the summary, and here we have how it looks. So for you Apple folks, it's all very straightforward. You just go into accessibility, and then when you're in accessibility, you go into voice. Let's have a look to make just make sure I check that. Just get the accessibility. Yeah, accessibility, go into speech. Which, bear in mind, this is iOS 17, so if you don't have iOS 17, it may not be there. And then go into something called personal voice, and it says create a personal voice. So all right then, I will. And then you just click on create a personal voice, click on continue. Make sure you're in a quiet place. And they'll say, oh, find a quiet place, speak naturally, and take your time. Call it something. I rather snappily called mine, which is Personal Voice 1. And then it does a sound quality to make sure it can tell the background noise. The great thing about iPads and newer iPhones is the microphones are awesome. I mean, brilliant. So recording directly into an iPad or a more recent iPhone is good. And so I just press record. I created a personal voice with my iPad. It checked out the sound quality. I was in a quiet spot. I spoke like I'm speaking now, and it liked me. And then just said, you know, just try and. I did try it in a noisy place, and it came up with an error message saying it's too noisy. Go find somewhere quieter. And then once they were happy, once it was happy, it said, right, let's go. So you have to record 150 phrases. And I've done this a few times now. I think it comes off in a kind of, they kind of mix it up a bit. I don't know how many phrases there are in total. Maybe there are 150, but there could be more, and they just randomize it. So, but it comes up with some interesting phrases. Justices of many courts are elected by the National Assembly. So imagine, because there are lots of people with all sorts of conditions that would like to do a voice bank, including people they open mind to do it, and all sorts of things, all sorts of things. It's kind of harder than it should be. Once you've recorded 150, bear in mind it records and saves all at the same time, so you can come back to it if you want to. You can just do 10 and then come back the following day. Once you've done 150, it says you're done. Great. And then it will say, right, charge and lock your iPad, leave it, and then you'll be told once it's ready to use. The first time I created a personal voice, it was probably a couple of days. But the last time, the more recent time, it was a night. It was about eight hours. So the other thing you can do is something called oh yeah, let's have a look. Is something called favorite phrases, and this is like storing your favorite phrases, and you choose which voice you want. And once you've created a personal voice, you can specify it in all the different voices that Apple has as my personal voice. And then you can create some favorite phrases. And so that will save, your good client will save time. The thing about the favorite phrases is it's just a list. You cannot categorize them. They're just a list, so they have to select them. What's this? Yeah, that looks like it's the same. So then you can use your voice. So the way to use your banked voice is either you can specify it as your preferred voice and then link it into predictable, just like normal, or Grid for iPad, just like you would. You would just select it from the list. Or you can use it in itself. And I shall do. So sorry, this is a bit old school. Here's my iPad. And what I've done is I've chosen to do a triple press to open up my own personal voice. I did a triple press and I can type anything I like in there. So I did some stored phrases. I like football, so I'm going to say thank you to you. It is so lovely to meet you all. Thank you for staging such a wonderful Women's Football World Cup. Yeah, thank you. And the English team, the Lionesses almost won, but Spain were better. And I'll be the first to say that. So now that is my banked voice. So, hello, my name is Richard Cave. How are you? What do you think about it? Tell me. Anyway.
I think it's great. It sounds very much like you.
Yeah, I think it's got a little bit of intonation, which is welcome, and I think it captures pretty much my tone of voice. It's still robotic.
A little bit robotic. Can you play one again for me, Richard?
I can. Let me play.
Just let's listen again.
Yeah. It is so lovely to meet you all. Thank you for staging such a wonderful Women's Football World Cup.
It's pretty close. It is robotic, but it is your voice.
Yeah. And all the more surprising because it's free. I mean, free. And
I feel like, Richard, if you weren't if we couldn't see your face right now, it would be really hard to distinguish which one was the voice banking and which one was your own voice, which is pretty amazing.
That is praise. Thank you, Anna. Thank you. So the other thing, because it's free, you can do as many voice banks as you like. And I was telling Sarah earlier that I recorded that when I was feeling a bit grumpy, because I just come back from summer. I thought, oh, I have to record 150 phrases, but I'll be nice and I'll talk about the World Cup. So then I went back and I thought, well, there's more to me than Grumpy Richard, and so I recorded another. So I have to cue this up. All right, so this is me talking about strangely, the Women's World Cup again. So here we go. This is another voice bank of me. It is so great to meet you all, and thank you so much for staging such an incredibly wonderful Women's Football World Cup.
That was better.
Yeah. So that is happy. That's Happy Richard, and I recorded 150 phrases with a smile, and it was all struggling at the end. But I was trying to be cheerful for 150 phrases, and so actually all of that is like much more. I could type anything, and I sound kind of happy. So it is a lovely day here in Ghana. All right, so here we go. Just type this in. It's a lovely day here in Ghana. It is a lovely day here in Ghana. And it is. So what I'm saying here is that because it's free, then there are options to, potentially put more emotion into this. It's a bit old school because actually at the end, when you load this into Predictable or Grip for iPad or wherever you use it, there's still some work to be done to switch between the two voices. So but they're all Apple voices. So, you know, it's not. It may be easier, it may not be, but we have options. We have options. So, there's that. Any? Sorry, I missed all the chat. So, Sarah, if there's any questions there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there are a few questions. Sorry, you go for it.
No, you go.
Someone going to ask a question. Yeah, go, Emma.
Thank you. I was just wondering, Richard, because you said you felt the voice was similar to the other voice banking, like the a cappella voice, and it still works with the apps. Is there a reason you would go back to using those more costly voice banks now over this option?
Yes, yes, there is, because the other options, Speak Unique, Model Talker, a cappella, they work on multiple platforms, and with my clients, you know, most of them are progressive, and they might start on an iPad, but they may end up on a GridPad, you know, kind of a Smartbox device, or Tobii Dynavox using eye gaze and head mouse or whatever. And so moving to different platforms, that's what this does not do. Having said that, in more, you know, kind of, I know that Tobii Dynavox, and I think actually, yeah, TherapyBox, TherapyBox as well. You can use eye gaze on Apple devices as well now. So I think this is where this is. I think this is why Apple have done this, to actually encourage people to consider using, you know, through the whole progression, using Apple, and you know, why not? You know, it's for existing people. I'm going to work for people who be on Android or Windows devices. It's just not, and Apple have made it that way. So yeah. So
One of the questions in the chat was, can you use the device while it is creating the personal voice, or do you just leave it for 8+ hours?
Now, I left mine for 8+ hours, but I can't see a reason why I couldn't have used it. It's just running in the background, and you can check the progress as you go. But you know, I apologize because I'm literally about a week ahead of you on this. So, and that's just what I've learned so far.
Nice. Another question is, does it link to any other AAC apps apart from Predictable, which you mentioned?
Grid for iPad. Those are the only other two I know. Probably the Tobii Dynavox ones, it will probably work.
And then someone asked, yeah, does it connect to Pictello? I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that. I'm really sorry.
Sorry, that was my question. Pictello's a social stories app on Apple.
Okay.
It's only available on Apple.
Can you use can you select which Apple voice you use in it? Then
yeah, and you can download different voices.
I'll bet 10 of my English pence that maybe you can.
Have to give it a go.
But I'm sorry if you can't. I'm putting 10p down.
There's lots of questions coming through. Another one is it easy enough to switch voice banks such that users could change between happy and grumpy in the same conversation?
That's my question too. That I'd like to know how easy that is. So yeah, I'm really sorry. Well, I have to check, because I am going to ask therapy box that question about how easy it is to switch, and I'm meeting some art books later today about something else, so I'll ask them, and if I get a coherent answer, I shall let you know.
Another question is, can you alter the speed at which your voice reads? So kind of like what you can do as a cappella.
Does anybody know if that can happen in Apple settings anyway? I can't remember seeing that.
Yeah, I think you can. There's
you?
like a turtle on X. Let me try and find it.
Sorry, I'm more of a Android person.
Yeah, speaking rate.
Speaking rate, where's that?
So if you go accessibility,
Yeah.
and then spoken content.
Spoken content.
Oh, but that might be different. It might be if you highlight something to speak, but there's a speaking rate there. I wonder if you go, don't know if that control the general speech output.
Speaking rate.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. I can see that. So I've got
Speak selection, read selected content.
okay, I've gone as slow as I can. So I think that'll be obvious if it works. Hello, how are you? Maybe not. Maybe not.
That made it
But
much
that's
faster.
yeah, that's yeah.
Speak selection, read selected content. Speak selected content.
Hellos.
Speak selection, read selected content.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't think that's a good. I'll add that to the deck because people do ask me that.
Another question is, can I clarify when you triple pressed, was that an app that opened or a function of personal voice to have its own keyboard open up?
It was the latter. It was a function of personal voice. And you can specify what keyboard you would like, just like normal.
I think this is an interesting question. I'll just read the whole question. This may be too cynical, but given that it's Apple and the whole voice bank can't be exported, should we be concerned about current or future privacy laws that might make this unsafe, concerning to recommend to our patients?
I love that question. This is my own opinion. Okay, this is my own opinion. I think Apple, in terms of personal data, is really good about stuff like that, and they're super secure. So I think it will carry on in that vein. But it's always worth keeping an eye on, because one thing, my neighbour, almost my neighbour at home in London, works in security, in a kind of computer security for another company, and he said that with the voice cloning and voice banking, is that as things progress, we need to be more careful. We need to be more careful, because I don't know about you, but banks, there are some banks here, and even one bank I'm with, that I can use my voice to unlock my account, my natural voice. So me and him have a kind of a long running discussion about, well, we want the best for people living with MND to have the voice that they would really like, to help protect to help kind of talk about, preserve their sense of identity. And at the same time, we need to keep everybody safe from fraud and all the rest of it. But at the same time, we don't want to penalise vulnerable groups like people with MND who want a really good authentic voice to preserve their sense of identity. So there's a tension there, which is not going to go away. So we just have to keep watching and just fighting for the vulnerable groups who we represent, as well as, you know, keeping everybody safe.
There's a few more questions. Another one is, could you explain the favorite phrases concept again?
Yeah. Okay. So, just excuse me a second. So I've gone into accessibility. Sorry, it's a tiny screen, isn't it? And then I've gone into personal voice. Is it personal voice? Live speech. Yeah, I've gone into, it's called live speech. It won't be on your devices unless you've got iOS 17 beta. And then go to favorite phrases, and then you can just add a phrase. You just keep adding, and so we can just go back, and you can add a phrase. Yeah, so there is a little plus sign on the top right. You add a phrase, and that's just, you know, save people having to type stuff. But the problem is this is not predictable or good for iPad. There's no categories here. It's just a list, and so you have to sweep down that. It's pretty rudimentary. They just, I think they just put it in because they thought it was a good idea, but didn't think any more than that.
One would assume that this will be refined as time goes on and things like that will come in, though. I can't see it's going to be long before they change that.
I really hope so, because, you know, us who, you know, who helped people with voice banking and who work directly with the groups who they're building this for, you know, could help them. We could have helped them if we were asked. And I've actually, for as long as I've had this iPad, I've been in touch with Apple, say, I've got something to tell you. I've got something to tell you. I've got something to help you and help everybody else. How about it? And it's just been like, I just haven't got anything back. So, but yeah. So yeah,
the favorite phrases is different to, so say with Acapella, you have your custom phrases where it's like message banking. So the favorite phrases doesn't have that. You can't directly record your voice to that phrase.
No.
There's another question and it says, can you please demonstrate how it could be used in a phone call?
I'd love to do that. If we were in a phone call, I don't know about a phone call, but in FaceTime, yes. In Zoom, yes. In Google Meet, yes. In Microsoft Teams, no. That's as far as I found. So I've done this demo in Zoom, in Teams, and in FaceTime, and you can do text to speech actually directly in the call. So I come loud and clear to you. I tried it this morning. So yeah. Wow, love the questions.
Can I just go back to the favorite phrases again? So ultimately, though, if you were using predictable or whatever the other one is, I've just forgotten, you wouldn't really need to go back to favorite phrases because you would just put them in predictable.
You would.
So
that would be a better way by a mile. Yeah.
Is the voice saved onto someone's Apple account? So say if I do it on an iPad, but then I sign in to my Apple account on an iPhone, will I also have access to my voice?
Now, I don't have an iPhone. I only have an iPad. but it's linked to the Apple ID. So I would expect that to be the case. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody that's got lucky enough to have an iPhone and an iPad. I think it's linked to the Apple ID.
Mm. Another question, is there something else? Yeah, you've got the question.
There's something else you recommend to be able to do text to speech and a phone call on Apple. Yeah. Yes, I can talk about Android. I can't really talk about Apple because I haven't really come across anything. Oh, no. Predictable does text to speech via Facebook on Apple. So Predictable already does this. And Andrew's right. Thank you, Andrew. Speech assistant can do it. Fabulous. Thank you. So yeah, Predictable for sure can do it via FaceTime. So you know what? I just this meeting has zoomed along, and I'm about to be booted out of my room because I'm at Google Office in Accra. So can Speech Assistant do this? I don't know. If Speech Assistant can use standard Apple voices, then maybe. Oh, that was for Andrew. It wasn't for me. Great. And okay. I saw a lovely cat, which is Tess. Thank you for sharing your lovely cat. Wow, long hair, beautiful. So anyway, I will just I will send Sarah the recording, and also send Sarah my deck. So, and I'm super interested in anything that you come because I'm clearly you more about Apple stuff than I do, and I really benefit from your knowledge too. So anyway, thank you so much, and wishing you a lovely evening wherever you are.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank
Richard.
you, Richard.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for organising.
No worries. Good night.
Yeah. Bye.